Okay, it's a big pet peeve of mine when I'm invited to be a podcast guest and I get the invitation and it simply says, "Come camera ready." Now, I'm a video pro, so I actually do know what that means, but it's a pet peeve of mine because I would say the general public or anybody you're interviewing doesn't know what that means. So, this is for you. If you have been invited to be a podcast or interview guest and you're wondering, how do I show up? Camera ready. Okay, let's get started. Now, because we're talking about an interview or a podcast, sound is actually the most important thing you can think about when you're going to be a guest. So please make sure that you know that your sound is pristine. Again, a lot of folks are just stripping the video and it is audio only. And so we want to make sure that you have the best audio that you can have. Now, most devices, if they are fairly new, come with a native speaker. That means the speaker that's inside the computer. That is just fine. But test it, record yourself, and see how it sounds. So, if you're worried about your audio, you think it could be better, invest in a mic. They are under $100. And if you're planning on doing a lot of podcast or interviews, this is a great investment. I love the Blue Yeti, but you can get a Snowball or AirPods, or even, this is an exception, you can wire in and use headphones because, again, your audio is so important. Now, if you think your audio sounds decent, but maybe it's a little bit echoey, there are things you can do about that. Maybe you have hardwood floors or you don't have a lot of things in the room to diffuse the sound. Well, start putting stuff around you that will diffuse the sound. Oftentimes, when I don't have carpeting and pillows around, I will put towels, blankets, pillows out of frame, but anything that will absorb the echo that comes back up. So play around with that. The word of the day is to test it. Record yourself, see what sounds good, see what sounds better. Okay, let's move on to your framing. Okay, your framing is really important because it establishes your authority. Wait, what did she just say? And what do I mean by framing? Well, your framing is literally where you are showing up in this little virtual frame. The closer you are to the camera, the more authority you have. Oh, yes, it's true. If you are far away and off screen, you are far away. And that means maybe disinterested or people don't take you seriously. So we want to make sure that you are filling the screen. Now, I like to say that you do not want to have more than an internet inch above your head. What I see so many times are that people come into an interview and they are just here. That's not good framing, people. We want to make sure that you are framed. We want it pockets up, is what we call it in production. So you're from your chest and up. So again, you can fill the frame like that, and that's not so good, right? So make sure that you're filling the frame with your chest, your shoulders, and your head, but you don't have too much room above your head and you're not cutting your head off. Part of framing is also your eye line. Yes, you're being interviewed, so most likely you may be looking off to the side, but the audience is on the other side of your little green dot there, on the other side of your lens. So you want to make sure that that lens is eye level. So my camera right now, I am looking directly into that camera and it is exactly at my eye level. Oftentimes you can fill this frame, but if you're looking down at your camera, we're looking up your nose. And if you're looking up at the camera, it just feels like you're trying to reach for us. So again, your framing is really important for your authority and how you show up. Let's hop into your lighting. Okay, your lighting is important because we want to make sure that you are well lit and we can see all of you, right? So not half of your face is in darkness or you've put yourself in front of a window because whatever's behind you is really pretty. We can't see what's behind you. That's called backlit. So what we want to make sure is that your main light source, we call it your key light, is in front of you, right? And so my ideal is natural light, a window. So put yourself in front of a window, but you are looking out the window. You are looking at the squirrels. We are looking at your neighbor mowing their lawn. We are looking at the trees, right? So you are actually looking out the window and using your window as a key light. Now, if you don't have good lighting, like I don't in here, what I recommend is an 18-inch dimmable ring light. I love ring lights. I know I'm a production person who loves ring lights because they're easy, they're low profile. You can put them up, move them down, and they work really well. You want it dimmable because as the light changes in your room, you want to be able to adjust that light. Okay, so we want to make sure lighting, you are well lit and you are evenly lit from, again, from your pockets up. Now let's hop into your backgrounds. Now, if you are being interviewed, especially for a podcast, you might not really give your background a second thought because you're thinking, I'm doing this for the audio. It's a podcast after all. However, your host may use or should be using a lot of the video assets to drive people to your podcast. So, again, you want to show up looking and sounding great. And that means take a minute and make sure you have a really nice background. I loathe, loathe fake backgrounds and blurred out backgrounds. So if you are going to use a virtual background, make sure that you have a green screen that you are keying out, because when you use some of these systems that key them out for you and you don't have a green screen, it looks really unprofessional, right? And we lose parts of you. Again, this is you showing up as the authority. Let's make sure you look like you know what you're doing. So again, if you don't love your background, then get a green screen. They are so affordable these days, and then you can key out and use a virtual background. If you're going to use your natural background, then just make sure it is simple and doesn't speak louder than you. Now, you don't have to have a fancy background like I have. I'm the video lady. I like mine fancy. And by the way, it doesn't go all the way around. It's a set. However, just make sure that you have something simple, plain, lovely looking behind you. If your kitchen has the best sound and it's a nice kitchen, put yourself in the kitchen. If you're well lit and you sound good and your kitchen is pretty, perfectly acceptable. Living room, offices, we just want to make sure A, that your sound is pristine, B, that you are framed well, and C, that is really the third one, is that your background looks acceptable. I'm going for acceptable here. While we're talking about your background, I want to also talk about how you are showing up and colors that look best on camera. Because again, if you think about being interviewed, you want to pop on screen. You're going to be well lit, so we see you. And now we want you to pop on screen. So if people are scrolling through and they see you, they're like, ooh, I want to stop and listen to what they are saying. Colors that look great on camera are jewel tone. What are jewel tones? I'm so glad you asked. Those are jewel tones. What I'm wearing is a jewel tone. Now, you have to find the jewel tone that looks good with your skin, with your coloring, with how you feel, with your brand. But we want to make sure that you avoid loud patterns, stripes, anything that is very, very distracting. And the other thing, since the sound is so important when we talk about what you're wearing, try to avoid things that may clank against a desk, like a bracelet or a watch. You accidentally hit the desk, then the audio editor is not going to be very happy with you. Or jangly earrings, necklaces, anything that can make noise when you move. So again, that's just a little extra hint for you. Okay, now I've got you looking and sounding great. So the next time you see come camera ready, you'll know exactly what to do. You're welcome.